With the invention of coinage in Greece in the 7th century, and then quickly spreading all throughout Greece in the 6th and 5th centuries, it wasn't long before coinage begins to spread elsewhere. And the first civilization that really latches on to coinage after Greece are the Persians. And of course, the Persian Empire, if you know your world history, was one of the greatest, in fact, up to that time was the largest empire the world had ever seen. In fact, at its height, I mean, you can look at the map here, it's pretty darn impressive. About 50 million people, extending all the way to the Balkans in the west, Egypt in the southwest, all the way to northwest India. Massive empire, and an empire that was at a pretty regular conflict with Greece. And of course, that period, lots has been written about Persia's war with the different Greek city-states. Complex network of roads throughout the region. Persian Empire was centered in what today is Iran. The Persians acquired gold from their conquests in India. In fact, it's one of the reasons why they invaded India, to have access to some of the gold mines in northwest India, and also in the Balkans, which had gold supplies. And in fact, the Balkans were an ancient supply of gold for Mesopotamian cultures. So the Persians acquired their gold from this region, and this is what distinguishes the early Persian coinage from the early Greek coinage. The Greeks almost exclusively, maybe even exclusively, coin silver, The Persians coined gold. And so what we see here is the world's first mass-produced gold coinage, and here's an early Persian imperial coinage right here. So the world's first gold coinage in this first Persian empire. Well, in the 4th century, in 334 BC, Alexander the Great of Macedonia, which was on the northern periphery of Greece, conquered half the world, including Persia, and for a brief while, Greek culture completely dominated the old world, and this also contributed to the spread of coinage as well as other things, the Greek language, Hellenic civilization, as it was called. So the use of coinage is spreading very rapidly between the Greeks, the Persians, and then Alexander the Great's conquest all throughout the ancient world in the late Iron Age. And India is the next civilization to latch on to coinage. The Indian, especially the Indian subcontinent, especially under the Gupta Empire in the 4th through 6th centuries AD, enters a golden age in Indian history in science, mathematics, philosophy under the Hindu tradition. Actually, it's in India where decimals are first used in mathematics, and actually where the concept of zero was invented, something that I think many of us take for granted, the concept of zero. It's actually a very abstract idea if you stop to think about it. What is zero? It is nothing. Well, how do you even begin to conceptualize nothing? Well, the Indians gave it assigned to it this mathematical number, zero, and of course that was a major advancement in mathematics. Major architectural achievements in ancient India, and but the Indians also develop far-flung commerce and latch on to a coinage of their own. So for the next few slides, I have some examples of ancient Indian coinage from the late Iron Age. Both silver and gold. And in fact, actually in the 3rd century AD, there were gold fields. The Kolar gold fields were discovered which boosted gold production in India. And you can see, here's a good example of coinage by the hammer. You can see how it's not terribly even. See the rings there. Pretty fascinating coins, though. In fact, if I have to give an award to most fascinating coinage of the ancient world, the Indians might get it. Some of these coins are quite impressive for their craftsmanship. The Indians were also, during this period, postulated that the Earth revolves around the sun by studying solar and lunar eclipses. They also invented the game of chess during this time period. So again, Indian Golden Age, and the coinage reflects that high culture. All right, let's move further east to China. Chinese in the 4th century also adopted coinage. However, like I said in part A of this lecture, Chinese always do things a little differently. And here, the Chinese adopt what were called cash coins. Cash coins. And here we have a cache, C-A-C-H-E, or a large store is what cash means. Oftentimes in the old world, cash was used as a word for a money box, and that's where we get the word cash, actually. Chinese cash coins. Introduced around 350 BC. Unlike the rest of the world, or unlike India, Persia, or Greece, the Chinese use not gold, not silver. Their gold and silver mines were a bit more limited, but they used copper. There was an abundance of copper mines in ancient China, and cash coins consisted of an alloy of copper, tin, and lead, and it varied depending on the region of China, depending on the time. But the other unique part of the Chinese cash coins, as you have no doubt noted by now, is the hole in the middle. The earliest cash coins had a round hole, and then before long they universally adopted a square hole. Well, what's this all about? The hole was there because copper has a lower value. You're going to need a lot of cash coins, aren't you, to make a purchase. One copper coin isn't going to be enough, or even 5 copper coins aren't going to be enough. So in order to make economic transactions more convenient, they put a hole in the middle so that you can string a bunch of them together in what was called a string of cash. A string of cash. And a string of cash consisted of, well, varying amounts, but a typical string of cash had 1,000 cash coins. 1,000 cash coins. One string of cash, as 1,000 of these cash coins, was equal in value to 1 ounce of silver. So you can see why other parts of the world prefer silver to copper. The Chinese, primarily because of supply, stick to copper, and as a way to make that copper currency more convenient, put the hole in the middle. So string of cash. Also, another difference with the cash coins that was different, or that was distinct from other parts of the world. Instead of hammering the coins, they were created by cast mold. So you had a cast mold. You put the melted copper and other alloy, the lead, the tin, into the mold, and that's how you created the coin. So the Chinese also did not use the hammer, and they were the only civilization to not hammer coins. Those are some pretty important distinctives there. And the Chinese end up using cash coins all the way up to the early modern era. So this was the predominant currency of China for a very, very long time, over 2,000 years. There's some more cash coins. And of course, you see the markings on them indicating value or place, location, or clan, not unlike the old spade money. And in fact, actually, spade and knife money continue to be created, and cash coins circulate alongside spade money and knife money in this early period. This is a later cash coin from the 19th century, I believe, although I may need to double check that. But that's a much later cash coin, and you can tell by looking at it. Under the Han Dynasty, which was a golden age of ancient Chinese civilization, the Han Dynasty, this was the birth of the Silk Road. The Silk Road extended 4,000 miles all the way across Western Asia into the Middle East and reaching the Mediterranean. Vast exploration of the interior, also advancements in nautical exploration in the South China Sea and into the Indian Ocean. The Chinese, under the Han Dynasty, invented papermaking was invented, the nautical steering rudder, the use of negative numbers, all had their beginnings here. It was a very entrepreneurial society. Businesses, shopkeepers opened up, still predominantly agricultural, still feudal, but lots of economic prosperity. And the summit, and lots of cash coins. These are some sculptures from the Han Dynasty. And even during the Han Dynasty, spade money continues to be used. So you have cash coins and spade money circulating side by side. It's interesting how spade money clung on for a while. Cash coins win out. Ultimately, spade money fades away, but people were accustomed to it. And actually, the cash coins at first were used predominantly in the urban areas, the cities in China, and spade money continued to be used in more agricultural areas. Well, under the Han Dynasty, with the spread of commerce, some of those rural areas became better integrated into commerce and through the Silk Road and connected to the cities, so that cash coins began to appear even in the countryside, and that's when spade money began to fade out. But the numbers in Han Dynasty are incredible. At the height of the Han Dynasty, an average of 220 million cash coins were produced every year. Imagine 220 million every year. That's a lot of coins. That is a whole lot of coins. A lot of coins being produced. And it aided the spread of Chinese commerce. Further along in East Asia, other East Asian cultures also adopted the Chinese model for coinage, using cast molds, copper, primarily copper with an alloy of tin and lead, and a hole in the middle. Japan, Korea, and Vietnam all go this route. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, that these are Vietnamese, although I may be wrong on that. You can see it's more of an oval shape as opposed to a circular shape. Other than that, it's very remarkably similar to the Chinese model. So anyway, that concludes lecture for today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.